Drax.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow my honourable friend from Belfast East. And as he rightly said, I too am honoured to sit on the Defence Select Committee, and we do have a very cohesive Select Committee that's doing some fascinating work on behalf of our armed services. May I just point out to my gallant and honourable friend from Beckenham that maybe I, at one point, once a commanding officer, always a commanding officer. And of course I refer maybe to the Minister's hairstyle. Can I also thank the Minister while he's sitting there and the Secretary of State for the huge amount of work they've both done to get this bill before the House. I'd also like to show my appreciation for all the armed service personnel in our country, and particularly in South Dorset, in camps like Bovington and Lulworth, the headquarters of the armoured force nowadays, and there are many thousands of troops and their families who serve with great distinction and honour both in Dorset and around the world, and we owe them a huge debt. It is us in this House who sends troops to war. No one else. We do. We sit here on these green benches or at home in our comfortable armchairs, armed with a gin and tonic perhaps, watching the men and women we sent fight for their lives in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Can we possibly, with few exceptions, honourable exceptions, really understand what they've gone through and are going through? I don't think we possibly can. And what's unfortunately happened is that the laws that covered warfare very well, and there's mention of things like torture and sexual assaults and the rest of it, that's already covered by international law, which our troops serve under. What's unfortunately happened is that other laws have crept into military law and are being exploited, as we've heard, in some cases by unscrupulous lawyers, and even non-unscrupulous lawyers who genuinely feel they have a legal duty to protect their clients' claims and investigate them. The bill we've heard gives immunity to those who commit crimes, or amnesties, some have said. Members may remember, the case of Marine A, Al Blackman, and I sought his permission to mention his name today. I was honoured and privileged to form a part of a small team that fought for him for 3 years to get his conviction for murder reduced to manslaughter. Now, in that case, if you remember, he shot a member of the Taliban while serving in Afghanistan. He was convicted for murder and sent to jail for 10 years. Under a very able QC and his team, we took this case to the appeal court, and in the appeal court it was reduced to manslaughter with diminished responsibility. Now, what I'm encouraged by in this bill, and if I might just read the notes that I was very helpfully given by the Minister, it will include the unique circumstances of overseas operations and the adverse effect that these can have on personnel. This will apply to the prosecution. Now, in this case, when the appeal court and 5 top judges in the land listened to this case, they decided that it was not murder. So having served 4 years of his life, having served 16 years with great distinction and honour for Queen and country and for us, he was released. I'm not going to give way because we've got 70 speakers and I'm not going to give way, and the gentleman's had plenty of time to say his bit. The point I'm trying to make is he did not get away with it. He was convicted for 4 years of his life. He paid for a terrible mistake in the heat of the battle after a long tour. And when the whole circumstance was investigated by the lawyers at the appeal court, and it all came out, the experiences that he and others had been through, and all the psychiatrists and so forth had their say, it was discovered this man had been pushed to a point that none of us, and I go back to what I said at the start of my short speech, can understand in this place. And next time, and there sadly will be another time we send our men and women back to face in harm's way, we must remember what we are sending them to. And this bill, which I totally support, has been brought in to protect them from new aspects of law that our forebears in World War II and other battles did not have to cope with. And I shall be voting with the government tonight And thank you, Minister and the Secretary of State, for bringing this bill to the House, and I look forward to the Northern Ireland Bill, as I understand, coming into this House before Christmas.